He thought I would wait forever. He thought being his safest choice meant I wouldn't leave. Not even when he ran back to the woman he once loved. But the moment I heard her voice whisper his name in the dark, something inside me ended. And little did he know my silence that night was the beginning of the biggest shock of his life. The evening everything cracked open began like any ordinary one. A soft rain tapped against the window, a rhythm I had always found comforting, but that night it felt impatient, like the sky itself was urging me to pay attention. I sat at the dining table, scrolling through messages I'd sent to him unanswered for hours. At first, I thought he was stuck at work again. Deadlines, clients, late meetings, I'd always believed him. I had always trusted his explanations, because love makes excuses for the things it fears to see. But something inside me refused to be quiet that night. A strange heaviness pulled at my chest, the kind that comes when the truth is already standing behind you, waiting to be acknowledged. I tried to shake the feeling, but every minute stretched into something unbearable. When my phone finally lit up, my heart leaped. But the message felt like ice. Don't wait up. I'm staying late. 7 simple words. But they felt wrong. Too flat, too distant, too rehearsed. I typed a reply, then deleted it. Why ask questions he wouldn't answer? Why pretend I didn't feel the shift between us? Instead, I grabbed my keys, more out of instinct than intention. I needed air. I needed movement. I needed something other than the suffocating stillness of waiting for someone who had already chosen somewhere else. As I drove, the rain thickened, blurring the city lights into trembling streaks. I didn't know where I was going until I pulled up, in front of his office building, the place where he had spent countless late nights, the place he claimed swallowed his time and energy. But the building was dark. Every floor, every window, every room. My pulse quickened, pounding in my ears as I stepped out into the rain. My hands were cold, but not from the weather. Something felt wrong. Too wrong. I was turning back toward my car when I saw it, his car, parked not far from the entrance. My breath caught. If he wasn't in the office, then where was he? The answer formed itself before I could even resist it. Her. The woman he used to love. The one he claimed to have moved on from. The one he described as a closed chapter he had no intention of revisiting. I believed him because I wanted to, because every relationship needs trust. But trust without truth becomes blindness. I didn't plan what I did next. My feet moved on their own, carrying me toward the cafe across the street. The windows glowed warmly through the rain. And inside, I saw a few late customers, but it wasn't the cafe I was interested in. It was the small, dimly lit alley behind it, the one that connected to the back of the building where she worked. I didn't need directions. My intuition guided me like a cruel, steady compass. As I reached the alley, the rain softened, as though even the sky held its breath. And then I heard its soft laughter, a woman's laughter. Familiar, gentle, and strangely intimate. My pulse slowed, not speeding up but dropping into a numb, suspended dread. And then I heard her voice whisper his name said with a softness I hadn't heard from him in months. It wasn't a guess. It wasn't imagination. It wasn't insecurity. It was the truth. A truth spoken in the dark. I stepped closer, keeping to the shadows. And there they were, standing beneath the narrow awning, the streetlight catching the curve of her smile as she tucked a strand of wet hair behind her ear. He wasn't touching her, not yet, but the way he looked at her made my breath leave my lungs. It wasn't guilt. It wasn't confusion. It was longing. Real, unfiltered longing, the kind a person can't hide because the heart speaks before the mind can control it. My throat tightened, but no tears fell. There was only silence inside me. Deep, complete silence. I didn't rush toward them, didn't scream, didn't demand explanation. I simply watched, the same way someone stares at an object that has just slipped from their hands, already knowing it will shatter when it hits the ground. I took one step back, then another. The rain started again, harder now, hiding my retreat. And when I finally reached my car, I sat behind the wheel, gripping it so tightly my fingers hurt. But still, no tears came. Only a cold, steady clarity. When I got home, he wasn't there. I didn't expect him to be. I changed out of my drenched clothes, dried my hair, and lay on my bed staring at the ceiling. My mind replayed the moment her voice said his name, the softness, the familiarity. It wasn't a first-time meeting. It wasn't an accident. It was two people slipping back into something they had never truly let go of. When he finally walked through the door, it was close to midnight. He tried to act normal, placing his keys on the counter the way he always did. But when he saw me awake, sitting calmly with the lamp casting a warm glow, his face twitched just slightly. But enough. "You're still up?" he asked, trying too hard to sound casual. "Yes," I said simply. He nodded as if relieved I wasn't questioning him. He didn't notice the shift in my eyes, the quiet finality in my voice. He kissed my forehead, a habit more than affection, then went to shower. As the water ran, I sat there thinking of all the moments I had waited for him, all the excuses I had accepted, all the signs I had ignored. I had given my love gently, steadily, believing it was enough. But love cannot compete with nostalgia. Love cannot fight ghosts he chooses to keep alive. That night, I didn't confront him. I didn't accuse him. I didn't beg or break. I simply turned off the lamp, closed my eyes, and let the silence inside me grow roots. Because I knew. He thought I would stay. He thought I needed him too much to walk away. He thought I would tolerate his confusion, his divided heart, his lingering desire for a woman who didn't choose him then, but suddenly wanted him back now. But he didn't know me. Not really. And he had no idea that my silence was the first step toward the storm waiting for him. He had no idea that soon, when he returned looking for me, I wouldn't be alone. He had no idea that the next time he saw me, he would freeze at the sight of the man standing beside me. And he had no idea that, for the first time in his life, he would understand what losing love truly feels like. He returned for me, but I was no longer his to claim. He expected me to break, to forgive, to cling. Instead, he walked into a room where I stood with someone who made him instantly pale, a man who didn't just stand beside me, but knew every secret my ex hoped would stay buried. The morning after I heard her whisper his name, I woke with a strange, steady calm, like the storm had already passed silently through me, leaving behind not destruction but clarity. He acted normal, humming softly as he searched for his tie. Unaware, I had watched his heart drift towards someone else. He kissed me goodbye, the same way one kisses a habit, and left. I didn't stop him. I didn't need answers anymore. I had seen the truth with my own eyes. By midday, I had already packed a suitcase. Not everything. Not the sentimental things. Just enough to move without noise. Leaving quietly wasn't a sign of weakness, it was dignity. It was reclaiming myself from a world he thought he controlled. I didn't leave a note. He hadn't earned explanation. Instead, I sent a message to someone I hadn't spoken to in a long time. Someone I once pushed away because my ex didn't feel comfortable with him. Someone whose presence in my life had always made him strangely defensive. His name was Arham. We had known each other years before my relationship, back when life was simpler, clearer, less tangled. We weren't lovers. But we could have been if I had chosen differently. He had feelings back then, soft and unspoken. But I turned them away when I chose the man who would later betray me. And Arham respected that. He stepped back, quietly, gracefully, leaving only kindness in his absence. Now, as my phone lit up with his reply, I felt something gentle move inside me. "I am here." He wrote, "Tell me where you are." I did. Need to think. I sent him the location of a small cafe near my sister's apartment. A neutral place, simple, warm, where the world felt steady enough for me to breathe. When I arrived, rain clung to the air, turning everything soft and blurred. The bell above the cafe door chimed lightly as I entered. And there he was sitting, in a corner booth with a half-smile that held both concern and warmth. He stood when he saw me, his eyes scanning my face, reading every fracture without me having to say a word. "You left him," he said quietly, not as a question but as a truth he already sensed. "I had to," I whispered. He nodded once, slowly. "Good." That one word almost broke me, not because it was harsh, but because it carried all the anger I had refused to feel. I sat, and he listened as I told him everything. Not dramatically, not with tears, Just truth, plain and steady. The whisper in the alley. The longing on my ex's face. The silence that settled inside me afterward. Arham's jaw clenched slightly. He never deserved you, he said, voice low, controlled. But you never wanted to see it. I know, I said softly. I kept choosing his potential over his reality. Arham leaned back, studying me. So what now? Now, a question heavier than it seemed. I don't know yet, I admitted, but I'm done waiting for someone who never chose me fully. And you don't have to face anything alone, he replied gently. Not anymore. That moment, simple, real, felt like the first breath after being underwater too long. We talked for hours, not about love, not about the past, just life, healing, what comes after betrayal. Arham had always been good at making pain feel survivable. By the time we stepped outside, the sky had cleared, washed clean by rain. He offered to help me move my things. I agreed, but life has its own timing, its own dramatic irony. Because he came home early, my ex-Arman walked into the apartment right as Arham stood beside me, holding a box of my clothes. Arman froze mid-step, keys clanging to the floor. His eyes widened, flicking from me to the suitcase to Arham and back. His entire face drained of color, as if someone had pulled the ground out from beneath him. What is going on? He stammered. I didn't, he answered. I didn't need to. My silence had already spoken louder than any accusation ever could. But Arham did not stay silent. He crossed his arms, his posture relaxed, but his eyes razor sharp. She is leaving, he said calmly, and I am here to help. Arman's face twisted, a mixture of shock and anger. You have no right to be here, he snapped at him. This is my home. Arham raised a brow. It wasn't to be hers anymore. That is what matters. Arman turned to me, desperation rising under his skin. You can just leave without talking to me, without trying to fix things. So you want to talk now? I said quietly, voice even, unshaken. After last night? He stiffened. His eyes flickered guilt, panic, realization. You followed me? No, I said. I saw you. There's a difference. His breath faltered. For a moment, he simply stared at me, the truth crushing him with a weight he had never expected to feel. It wasn't what it looked like, he whispered. I know exactly what it looked like, I replied, and that is why I am leaving. Arman's gaze shifted to Arham again, and something dark, jealous flared. Of all people, him, the man you told me not to worry about. The man you feared, Arham corrected sharply, because you knew what you were throwing away. Arman took a step toward me, voice trembling. Come home, please. We can fix this. I was confused, but she means nothing. You're the one I want. You didn't want me last night, I said quietly. Or the nights before that. Or the months you slowly drifted away. He swallowed hard, tears forming. I made a mistake. Not one, I said, many. And you kept making them because you assumed I would stay. Arman's face crumpled. Don't do this, please. But I was already picking up my bag. Arham stepped closer to me, not touching, not claiming, simply standing beside me with a presence that was both protective and grounding. And that image, me walking away with him beside me, was the moment Arman truly broke. He sank onto the couch, head in his hands, shaking with regret he never expected to feel. The sight would have shattered me once, but now it only confirmed what I already knew. It was too late. As I closed the door behind me, leaving that apartment, and everything it represented, a strange peace settled inside me, the kind that comes only when a chapter ends exactly as it needs to. Outside, the evening air was cool. Arham took the box from my hands and placed it gently in his car. You're free now, he said softly. Yes, I whispered. And for the first time in a long time, I feel it. What I didn't know then was that walking out that door was not just the end of something broken, but the quiet beginning of something unexpected, something stronger, steadier, and far more real than the love I once begged for. And Arman, he would spend the days ahead replaying the moment he saw Arham beside me, realizing too late that losing me wasn't just losing a partner. It was losing the future he thought he had secured. But now, that future belonged to me and to the man who stood beside me with the kind of loyalty my ex never understood.